Greetings, friends, and welcome to a very special episode of Burgers and Fries podcast, the all-new, all-exclusive, 100% Bob's Burgers podcast. Does that sum it up?
I think that's pretty good for an intro.
Okay.
I think that's good.
All right, fantastic.
What are we called again?
Burgers and Fries.
Burgers and Fries.
Burgers and Fries.
Nice.
My name is Bryan. With me, as always, is my good friend Ryan.
Hi.
We have been podcasting for a long time, never got picked up by anybody or anything in particular, so we kind of just wanted to do an offshoot and do something that we really enjoyed and just do a podcast all about Bob's Burgers, which is a show that we've really grown to love these past couple of seasons.
Yeah, we've done various podcasts as far as different mediums of media. We never could find a niche that we liked. We would try to do TV stuff for a while. That got kind of boring. Mm-hmm. We did try to do movie stuff. We didn't have enough time.
Video games too difficult to keep up on.
It is. You know, when you're in your 30s.
Yeah.
And you got full-time jobs.
And you have a 9 to 5. When the hell am I going to play all these video games?
And you got children.
And there's a Steam sale every week.
Every week there's a new game on sale.
God damn it.
So games were hard. We could bullshit about games, but we can only do so many retro things, and we just don't have time to even play the retros anymore. So
we're going to, like we said, specifically concentrate on Bob's Burgers and just review the episodes. So this podcast is really going to be for the viewer to go through the back catalog of episodes of all 5 seasons so far, mm-hmm. and kind of rejoin us. Yeah, watch with us for what we're going to be doing, which is just reviewing and having fun and revisiting these great episodes for this show that really kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I remember when it first came out, when we're going to review the first episode, which I didn't watch when it came out.
No, I didn't either.
I heard about the premise.
Yep.
And I kind of watched a little bit of the promos on Fox.
Right.
And first thing I said to myself was, this is just another cheesy, crappy animated show.
They're going to try and capitalize on the Family Guy, American Dad, Simpsons, King of the Hill, Sunday Animation Domination?
They call it Animation Domination. Yeah. No, something like that. I don't know what they call it anymore because I don't watch on TV.
Correct.
But like King of the Hill is on the way out.
Yep.
They were finishing up American Dad and Family Guy, Cleveland show, and Simpsons were kind of the big 4. Right. And so there's this weird show that comes out, and I'm like, oh, a show about burgers? That's going to be stupid.
And and this sounds very elitist of me, but the animation of the show Bob's Burgers, it didn't really win me over. Now that I've kind of learned to grow, I guess, my appreciation to go along with the show, and as the show matured, and the show kind of figured out what it was, and it's now actually kind of charming, when you look at the animation now versus some of the other shows that are obviously animated. It works very well for what it is. But like I said, one of the reasons I didn't watch it, because, like you said, it sounded kind of stupid, and I wasn't really won over by the animation, which sounds kind of awful.
I think, yeah. I mean,
it makes me sound like a dick.
Well, and it's funny that you say that, because you enjoyed shows like Clone High, which had even worse animation.
Oh, but that was so different, I felt. I don't know.
You liked shows. You liked Undergrads. That was a little bit better. It was one man who did that whole show.
Yeah.
I think for me, it was the premise. It was just the fact that I was already kind of a big Family Guy fanboy, and I was like, any other show is just going to be stupid.
Right.
But I think it took maybe 2 or 3 seasons, and I went back and started watching them on Netflix.
It was season 2 for me when my older brother just says, "Have you watched Bob's Burgers?" And I'm just like, nah, because we're big football fans in my family, and every dead play that happened, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck would be talking about Bob's Burgers and just really pumping it in there, and I felt it was just so much marketing around it that I just didn't want to watch it out of protest, because like every 10 minutes it seemed like they were just trying to hype up this show. But it's totally worth it. And, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, they do their little witty banter. "Oh boy, Troy, have you seen Bob's Burgers yet?" "Oh, I sure have, Joe. It's just a fantastic show." And I'm like, shut up, guys. You're clearly just there for Fox. They're just shilling for the show, for Fox. And then my brother came in and was like, "Dude, you have to start watching this during season 2. And I'm like, okay, fine. And we actually sat down and watched a couple episodes with him. And just right there is when I knew, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to start going back to watch season 1 and go all the way through now.
I think, yeah. And as we go through the show, so the whole idea of our podcast is we're going to go through from the first episode. We're going to continue forward. Mm-hmm. When the new episodes start up in September, we'll take a break from what we're doing in sequence and start with those ones. And when there's a break, when there's a week that doesn't have an episode, we'll go back and watch.
I'll go back in the vault. That's a good idea.
So we'll
thanks for clearing that with me live on air.
While we're on air, we'll tell you what we're gonna do. But I mean, that's just something where we can then keep up with it. So instead of doing older episodes as the new ones are on, we will let you, the fans, be able to get an instant review of the show with us.
Right.
But yeah, for me, it was just really, it was on Netflix, and I started watching it one day because I was getting a little bit, I'm not sick of Futurama, but I had been binging Futurama forever. I had been binging Family Guy forever, and I just wanted something new. Right. So I put on some Bob's Burgers, I put on the newer episodes, and really, it came down to voice acting. But I mean, H. John Benjamin
is amazing.
Being on the show and being a big fan of Archer, it was just kind of an instant sell for me. Oh,
Archer,
H. John
Archer
Benjamin,
home movies, anything that he did.
He's done. He's
Dr. Katz.
He's in my kids' TV shows. He's on Word Girl, which is a PBS kids show.
He, really?
He does like a bunch of various voices, and he masks it very well. I mean, it's a little bit higher pitched and a little bit snooty. So he plays.
Well, he does one of the kids. Doesn't he do Jimmy Jr.?
No. He only does. He might do Jimmy Jr. We'll get to that though. Yeah. We'll get to that in the episode preview. But this first episode intro is going to go a little bit longer than normal because we are introducing ourselves and everything. But the way that the format is going to go down for this podcast is we will first kind of introduce the episode, tell you the name, tell you when it aired, and then we'll kind of go through and give a quick synopsis of the show. We'll talk about it. We'll review it. Anything that we caught. We'll mention, of course, if there's a burger of the day, we'll mention that. We'll mention the couch gags, essentially, as if you want to coin them, because every episode of The Simpsons has had relatively
the chalkboard gag and the couch gag.
And they're almost always brand new.
Right.
So with Bob's Burgers, their couch gag, quote unquote, has been the sign on the vacant store lot next to them, as well as the pest control, rodent removal,
and then the burger of the day,
and then the burger of the day. That has always been new. Every single episode, I do not remember any duplicates at all.
No,
I don't think I've ever encountered a
duplicate.
Either.
No,
which is great because that's something fun. And I mean, there's only so many puns you can make out of everything. So the fact that they're still 100 episodes in and still fresh, is I don't think they're 100 in yet. But the fact that they're getting close to 100 is pretty cool. So
they're 107 in right now.
Is that including?
That's through 2016.
But is that including upcoming episodes that haven't aired yet?
I think they're done now.
No, the brand new season starts in like a month, and I think IMDb will also count those episodes.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So, okay, I see what you're saying.
So they're around 100 in, but they're still coming up with fresh new ideas.
Oh, yeah.
Which every show kind of gets to that 100. I mean, I remember when Simpsons got to 100, and there was the big thing with
South Park had a huge... Yeah, here I am talking about how much I didn't like the animation, yet I'm a big fan of South Park. I think that was...
Again, theirs was cute, though. It was part of the whole part of it.
Right.
But yeah, Simpsons...
I don't know, you guys. The animation's all crappy.
Simpsons did a fun 100th episode, which I think was kind of wasn't it a clip show or something? They talked about how...
That was the 137th episode Spectacular.
That was that one, yeah. South Park did the whole spoof on being canceled, where they had a rerun.
Right. That was really funny. Good. I really like that. It was done very well.
I don't remember... Family Guy's 100th episode was just a weird... retrospective of that. They had an episode of Stewie and Brian, which was really good, but really the 100th episode was Seth MacFarlane pretending not to be Seth MacFarlane and interviewing people in a focus group about Family Guy.
Sure.
So that was really the 100th episode.
Right.
But yeah, when Bob's Burgers gets to theirs, it'll be well worth a watch. But we're getting way ahead of ourselves.
Yes, we definitely are. Okay,
we have to start with the pilot.
Let's bring it back around. Yeah, and let's talk about the pilot here. The pilot aired. The original air date of the pilot is January 4th, 2000. Wow. Let's do it again. January 9th, 2011. Excuse me. It's January 9th. And it's titled Human Flesh. And if you want to watch it with us right now, or watch it before the podcast, now's a good time to pause it. And we'll meet you back here after you are finished with your viewing.
Enjoy.
Did someone actually order this?
Yeah.
Who?
Him.
He looks like a child molester. Louise, don't serve him. Let Gene bring it.
Bob?
Why do I have to get molested?
Because he's not going to molest you.
Why?
Because you're heavy.
Bob.
Yeah, hold on.
Heavy kids can get molested.
Yeah, who wouldn't want to molest us fast?
That's enough.
All right. Thanks very much for coming back, if you decided to come back after that little break.
And if not, we are here still. You listened to nothing?
To listen to nothing, yeah. Thank you for sticking around for that 2 seconds of dead air.
It'll be a little bit.
So
there might be something else there, who knows.
Again, the episode we're going to be reviewing is the very first episode, the pilot episode.
Human Flesh.
Human Flesh.
You may have noticed, the first thing that you would have noticed would have been the what we had talked about, the couch gag.
Right.
We had the storefront, which was PETA, P-F-E-T-A. So I guess that was people for the ethical treatment of animals, but they wanted to make that rhyme like feta, or I guess the pun like feta, because that's a cheese.
Right.
and that's burgers and everything. So meat is murder is what the subtitle of the storefront said. Mm-hmm. And then the pest control removal was rats all folks. Exterminators.
They have such good puns with their exterminators that as the seasons go on. So it's really great.
It's the first one, the feta meat is murder. That's kind of it's a chuckle. It's not
right.
It's not as good as other ones.
Right.
And rats all folks. That's just a Looney Tunes pun. So
right.
But they're good. I mean, for not expecting it when you're watching when you sure. watch it for the first time. If you are watching for the first time, you're not expecting these things to happen,
right?
Or you're expecting that's going to be always what's on the storefront. Right. You don't know what's going on.
Do we want to explain real quick about what the original premise of the show was, and that's why the building next door keeps changing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
That's like pre-pilot
right?
Stuff.
Correct.
Yeah.
So when who created the show?
Lauren Bouchard, I think.
Lauren Bouchard. So when Lauren was shopping this around, he had the original idea for the show. The original pilot. This is the pilot that's made for TV because you'll find out why later. This came about as Lauren was shopping the show, and he wanted to have a family that made burgers, but that were also cannibals. So they would, kill their neighbors, and then go use the moratorium next door, the funeral home next door. They would grind up the food there, or the people there, grind it up into burger, and then sell it as normal burger. So that's why the building next door constantly is changing, because the premise is that they're going in, they're murdering the people that ran the store, and then they would cook them up and make them into burgers and sell to the public. And they Fox liked the idea up until the cannibalism part. They like the family, they like cooking the burgers, they like the ocean front beach, setting that it was on. So it got bought for everything but the cannibal part. And that's kind of an homage. The opening scene is more of an homage.
The whole episode is.
Right.
The whole pilot episode
is true. Is an homage to...
And we'll get to that, and that's
right.
kind of why it's called Human Flesh.
Yeah, an homage to their original idea.
So the first thing that you'll notice in the episode is they're kind of having a family meeting,
mm-hmm.
which is a good way to kind of introduce your family and the dynamics of every character.
Right.
So Bob is he's the patriarch of the family. Mm-hmm. He's kind of instructing everybody what to do on this busy, what was it, Labor Day weekend or something. Yes, it was Labor Day weekend. So you're seeing Bob here try to tell his family what to do for this restaurant, because they all work in the restaurant. The kids all work there. His wife works there. He's obviously Bob of Bob's Burgers. So he tells, Tina to go on the grill, which is his oldest daughter.
And
hold on. Well, we'll get to that. He tells...
This is your introduction to Tina.
So Tina is supposed to work the grill. Gina's supposed to hand out the samples. And Luis is supposed to work the front counter.
Right.
Okay. And then Linda just kind of helps around everywhere that she can. Yeah. She's supposed to go grind the meat.
Right.
Essentially in the basement, which is not a euphemism.
Right. Right.
But this is a great way to introduce all the characters, because
right.
each character's got a defined character right away. I mean, you don't necessarily, and they don't really. What am I trying to say? They don't really shift in any of the seasons. What you get in this episode is really what you get for the whole season, for the whole series.
They obviously develop more a little bit character-wise to give you a little bit more background, a little more interest for the character. But this is pretty much it.
But we'll start with Bob, who's the father. He cares about his restaurant probably more than his children and his family. But he does consider his children and his family part of the restaurant. So really, in a way, he does still care about them. Mm-hmm. But what does he say? He says, "I love you all."
He's like, "I'm your father, and I love you,
but you're all
terrible here, and I just want to let you know that I'd fire you all if I could."
Yeah,
which
that's
is
the line
his
from the
famous
episode.
line. Yeah.
And it's a great way to kind of sum up his character.
Right.
I gotta have you as my family. I do like you as a family,
but you're all terrible.
But you guys are awful for this restaurant. Yeah. So we first talked to Tina, who is the teenager. She's 13.
Right.
Or maybe 14. They don't really give them ages. Mm-hmm. She does have her birthday party though later on, which they don't really.
I don't think they say her age.
I don't think they do either.
We'll have to wait to get there. Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to guess she's 13. She's very agreeable. She doesn't really have much of her own... At this point in time, she really doesn't have much of her own thoughts. Mm-hmm. A lot of what she does is what other people kind of tell her to do. So the other family members could potentially take advantage of her. One of the defining points of this episode with Tina is she's got a rash in her downstairs part. And so when Bob is telling her to go to the grill, which you would have saw if you watched the episode, she makes it real. I mean, this is just kind of the humor that you expect for the whole series. It's great. She goes, I'm itching. I've got a rash now.
My crotch is itchy.
My crotch is itchy. So Bob, as the father says, are you telling me that as your father, You're telling me this as my grill cook.
Yeah.
Because my grill cook wouldn't tell me that.
And neither would
And
my
neither
daughter.
would my daughter.
Yeah.
You should talk to your mother about that. So it's just it's a great way to introduce the character.
Right.
Jean, who's the middle child, always looking for attention.
Always.
I don't know if that's a middle child thing or not.
You're
a middle child.
I am a middle child. That's pretty. Yeah, it's pretty spot on. He's definitely the. I don't want to say outcast. That's a bad word. He's the artistic one. You know, he's definitely marches to the beat of his own drum, and then even more so Louise. But we'll get to her in a second. Jean is very musical, and that's one of the things that I like about him most. He's always carrying around, especially for the first few episodes, a keyboard. And just playing keyboards, sampling sounds from different family members or different moments in life, and just then putting them to music, and it's so great. The show is so musical, and we'll definitely talk about that.
In this episode, doesn't he have he has the megaphone?
The megaphone that has fart noises into it, yeah,
robot noises,
yeah. So he has this megaphone that he's using to go out, and his job for this episode was to wear the burger suit and run around outside trying to draw in business and give out burger samples.
Yeah,
was his job.
It's pretty simple job, but yeah. I mean, he of course, as you'll know, he
does it his own way.
Finds a way to screw it up,
right?
Which we'll get to. Do you want to talk about Louise, the youngest child?
Louise, yeah, she's the one that definitely is, only there to just cause trouble for everybody, but not. But actually, it is quite intentional of what she does. She wants to just get into mischief, and she thinks it's more fun if things don't go according to plan. So she's always trying to sabotage like the burger of the day. And give it a different name when her dad isn't looking, or get Tina especially and Jean to go along with whatever crazy plan that she has, and the kids mesh so well together.
They do
with this dynamic that they've created.
Their personalities each kind of make a very nice triangle of right. different likes and dislikes, and they're very close. I mean, obviously working in a restaurant,
right? And
they're all within probably 5 years of each other, 6 years of each other in age, so. That helps being closer as well. And then if they're always having to work, they have outside friends, but I mean, let's be honest, they're friends in the show, which we don't really meet any of them in this episode. They're the children of the restaurant across the street.
Right.
So
yeah, the pesto kids.
Yeah, we'll get to those in a later episode. But lastly, we've got Linda, who is the wife. She's ever the optimist, ever.
Oh, very much so.
She's always enthusiastic about everything, regardless of what it is.
Right.
She loves her children. She'll help them with anything. But at the same time, I don't think she knew what she was going to get into in the marriage. I mean, that part of this episode, which we'll get to. I guess we can just get to it now.
Yeah.
She's expecting something big to happen today. Right. It's their wedding anniversary today of all days. Bob doesn't remember. Bob is not good with those days.
No.
There's a nice little scene where it shows her when they're grinding the meat downstairs, where she's pregnant, where she has the child. It's her birthday. All these different things where Bob is too busy working to remember these things.
Right.
And she just doesn't. He doesn't know it. He's so focused on his restaurant that these other dates don't really mean anything.
Right.
So she thinks that he's planning something big, which he's not. Right off the bat, we can say he's not planning something big. But again, that's just her always being the optimist and always trying to think the best of any situation. He didn't truly forget. He's just kind of there. He's there pretending that he doesn't know. And that something big present or a big hoopla is going to happen. But this day at the restaurant does not go as planned.
No, it does not.
So do you remember the first thing that happens?
The first thing that happens is after they've been
assigned their duties. The first thing that happens.
Tina, Louise, doesn't she
the first thing is outside with Jean.
Oh yeah, and then he runs into the people leaving the funeral home, and
he's handing out the samples.
Yeah,
but he drops all of them on the floor.
Right,
and he's offering them to people.
Right,
and two other gentlemen walk towards him.
Right,
and they basically say, "Are you?" You can't hand those out. And Jean goes, "Who are you?"
The health inspector.
Who are you? The
dropping food on the ground police.
Dropping food on the ground police. And they go, "Actually, we are."
Yeah.
They have those?
Yeah.
So it's the health inspector coming to do a surprise inspection, I guess. So they get into the restaurant and they start doing their inspection.
Right.
After they've already seen Gene try to hand out floor samples, essentially ground cement walked on samples. They get into the restaurant and Louise is working the front counter. But what has she changed in the
She's changed the name of the burger of the day. It used to be New Baconings.
New Baconings was the burger of the day.
But now I don't remember what. Now she changed it. Yeah, now she changed it to the child molester, and then put in parentheses comes with candy. So it's just a regular burger that comes with a piece of candy.
I think it was like a sucker that was on top.
Yeah.
So the health inspector asks, "Where are your parents?" And she goes, "They're in the basement grinding the meat."
Yeah.
And then the health inspector gets this look on his face, and she goes, "No, it's not a euphemism. They're really downstairs grinding the meat."
Yeah. As she thrusts it.
She's thrusting the.
And she doesn't care what kind of trouble people get in. This is Louise.
She doesn't understand.
No.
I mean, she's young. She doesn't understand the consequences. Yeah. It's all jokes to her.
Yeah, it is, and it's funny. She's so funny.
And then then Bob comes back up because I think he thinks something's going on in the restaurant, and the health inspector's writing down all this stuff. He's cited Tina for scratching, having the rash, and everything.
Right.
So all the kids kind of come back around, and the health inspector's writing Bob all this stuff down. Another joke about it: the child molester burger was ordered by somebody, and they say he looks like a child molester.
Right.
They make a weird joke about Tina being autistic. I don't really get why.
Because she's just a little slower than the other
That's
two.
right, yeah.
And so they're
Louise makes that
and they're
joke.
like, "Hey, Rain Man, how many toothpicks did they just throw on the ground?"
100?
They threw a bunch of
There's 3.
Yeah, there's 3 on the ground, Tina. Yeah, so that's really great.
So really, we find out that the reason that the health inspector's here is because somebody complains that there might be human flesh.
Right.
From the episode. This gets back to the original pilot, pre-pilot. Because they work next to a morgue.
Right.
So they're getting meat from the morgue to grind in with theirs. And they need to test it because apparently in this city, there's a legal limit of 4% human flesh that you can have in your burgers.
And if it's any higher than that, they have to get shut down.
Yeah. So they are in there to test this and everything else. So we find out later that when Linda comes back upstairs after grinding the meat, that she knows the health inspector whose name is Hugo.
Right.
Okay. He used to be engaged to Linda, which adds a great dynamic to the show going forward, I believe.
Yes.
Having the health inspector,
he still is in love with Linda.
It felt a little.
He always is. He's like Bob's Ned Flanders. If Bob is Homer Simpson, Ned Flanders is Hugo. Even though Hugo hates Bob more than Ned hates Homer.
I think
because it was for those first few seasons, Homer was always just taking his stuff and blaming stuff on Ned.
But I think but they were still neighbors, and at least they could have coexisted.
Yeah.
These two
are like
really
enemies.
can't coexist.
Hugo's an enemy. Bob really just wants to be left alone.
Yeah, and he thinks he runs the greatest restaurant. Right. A little bit of his ego gets him there. But he's jealous, of course, because he has Bob has Linda, and he never got her. They were engaged. You broke up. I thought you were getting engaged to some. I forget exactly what Hugo says.
It was like big restaurateur or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I did.
I was like, this is it.
Yeah,
this is the place. So to kind of just take off, the episode just kind of takes off from there, where the restaurant's in danger of getting shut down because of this rumor that actually Louise started during her show and tell.
Yep.
And she said, "This is a burger from my dad's restaurant. It contains people." And she just starts eating in front of everybody just to gross everybody out. And then that rumor spreads like wildfire. And now the Bob's Burgers clan is trying to just prevent them from being shut down because it's Labor Day weekend, which is the busiest weekend.
Could be the busiest
weekend, of their restaurant lives.
So what they do, so they have to test it, of course.
Right.
So they put a big sign in front of the restaurant that says "May contain human flesh."
Right.
So it's kind of a weird situation.
Yeah. So they're not shut down yet because they haven't done the test, but the test isn't going to be open until Monday, which coincidentally is Labor Day, which it would be closed on anyway, which is kind of funny when you think about it.
No, they wouldn't be closed on Labor Day. Restaurants don't close on Labor Day.
No, but the testing center.
Yeah, so it would take. But they said it would take what, five days or something.
Yeah, something like that.
But as you find out, they could do the test in there. His Ron, Hugo's partner, Ron, who's really more level-headed than Hugo.
Yes,
he's kind of. I think he'd be more of like, no, not really a Ned Flanders. I mean, he'd be more of a Ned Flanders. They can coexist, but he doesn't like him because he's the health inspector.
Yeah, maybe.
But Ron is he's new to the scene. This was his first. I think they said this was his first stop.
Okay.
But he's just the brand new health inspector.
Right.
Anyway, so we got a bunch of notes on here, and not really all of them are that important to the story.
But we're gonna say them all anyway.
So yeah, we're gonna say every single one.
Every single one. We actually have the script up here, and we're gonna do a bunch of parts.
We're just gonna read the script.
Yeah.
So instead of we're changing the podcast on the fly. We're not reviewing anymore. We're gonna read the script.
We're gonna read the entire script.
We'll make voices for everybody.
All right, I get Tina.
Of course you would. It's the easiest one.
Yeah, it is the easiest one.
So anyway, so the family gets into a big fight. There's a bunch of weird schemes that kind of happen, which is kind of cool because this kind of reminds me of the Simpsons and their little schemes that they do to try everything.
Right.
So like Bob suggests, or not Bob, somebody suggests that Linda calls Hugo and kind of tries to make up and do everything.
So then they could test the meat and get the sign taken down.
It wasn't Bob. Bob didn't know, and he was very upset that they did that.
Right.
But what happens is, during that meeting, a box from the morgue that's wrapped up in a big box rolls into the restaurant. Out pops the human person.
Right.
Then she opens it up, and Hugo's right there.
Right.
So there's that delivery of human flesh.
Right.
So now it's really closed
Right.
for the restaurant.
The big turning moment of the episode, like the climax, you could say, is when Linda convinces Hugo to test the meat. When they find out that they actually have the equipment to test the meat in their health inspector van, was the big turning point. Like, wait a minute, you've been doing this test the whole time, and Ron actually pushes Hugo to do it. He's like, what do you mean? We could just do it right here. We have all this equipment. And then Ron finally gives in, and they test the meat.
Well, Hugo
gives in, tests the meat, and there's 0% human flesh in their meat.
So the restaurant is good.
Beef. Yeah, so they're happy. But the funny part is that when there was an older lady walking by, or I forget what happened, she wanted a burger, but it was like they asked if it really contained human flesh.
They're part of an exotic
food club.
A club that enjoys exotic foods.
Yeah.
So they heard through the rumor, and I guess the sign was still up that there might be human flesh in these burgers.
Right.
And so they're willing to pay $50 a burger to try this human flesh burger.
Right.
So as they're filing into the restaurant, Ron comes over with the test results.
Yes,
and is trying to say, hey, your meat is 100% beef. There's nothing in here. And Bob's like, shut up.
Thank you. Go away now.
Because he's trying to get this busload of elderly people who think that there's going to be human flesh in this.
Yeah, they want to try this exotic meat that they've never had before.
Good luck with the angry mob, Bob. How close am I to that car?
You want me to help you get out of your spot?
Yeah, I can't see his bumper. Am I close?
No, you got room. Keep coming. Keep coming. Stop.
How am I doing in front?
It's tight. Keep coming. Cut the wheel. Cut the wheel.
I am. I'm cutting it.
You gotta cut hard right when you... Just get out. I'll do it.
So that was the fun way to end the episode of the restaurant is being saved. Bob and Linda work it out, and the kids just kind of are the kids, which work great. There's really no B story.
There was a weird subplot about Bob and Linda's relationship.
Yeah, but but then it tied together.
Well, it kind of did.
With the overall story.
It kind of did. But you also have, you've got the whole anniversary thing, which is kind of forgiven. Mm-hmm. You've got that Bob is a bad kisser.
Right.
Which we didn't really touch on, but apparently he's a bad kisser. He's very, very sloppy, very wet.
He's a very slobbery kisser.
He eventually learns how to kiss, but how did he learn? Do you remember what
I think he read it on the internet.
That's right. He found it on the internet. That's what he says.
Yeah,
which is weird
on the internet.
Because in later episodes, and we'll get to them, it doesn't seem like he knows how to use the internet.
Yeah.
So
that's okay.
It's kind of a new concept, I guess.
Right.
But yeah. So the really in good old fashioned pilot episode tradition, everything's kind of wrapped up at the end.
Right.
You don't have any left, loopholes or anything left.
Yeah, there's no reason to continue.
You really want to introduce your core family. You want to introduce your core story, kind of what an average episode will be.
Right.
And this truly was an average episode. Mm-hmm. You've got the dynamic in the burger house. The kids don't go out and do much yet. Later on they might explore more. Who knows?
Right.
There may be more characters that are introduced. Mort, is introduced a little bit because he's the mortician.
Right.
But it's not. He's not hugely introduced yet. But really, you learn the main characters. Mm-hmm. Just based off the first episode, my favorite character in this core group is probably Gene. Is probably my favorite character. Just because he seems to be a good balance of funny and also kind of dumb, but also smart about certain aspects like music and
Right.
He's got a very creative mind, but it's very unfiltered.
Right.
For the most part.
Right. No, I'm gonna disagree with you there. I think the best character is Louise, from just the pilot standpoint, because of what she, brings to the table, so to speak, and that she's very mischievous and really adds a lot of humor to the show. That like I said, they're just trying to figure out what they're gonna do with the show, and then they just have Louise just doing all this funny stuff, which works really well as kind of like the background as to the main plot, because she wasn't really a strong character in the episode, because it was more about Bob and Linda, but she had some great lines, and she brought a lot of great comedy, a lot of good background noise, so to speak, to the episode. So I like Louise, he likes Gene, but we'll see how it goes. Maybe the next episode it'll be somebody totally different.
Maybe there's new character. I mean, there's going to be new characters. Clearly, a show can't thrive on 7 characters.
7 characters.
So we'll get more characters, we'll get more situations as the time goes on. But as a pilot episode goes, both with our pilot episode now and with Bob's Burgers, it was a little bit rough around the edges.
Yes, definitely was.
You get a core idea of what it's going to be about. It's not going to make any top 10 lists, I don't think, but it is what it is. It
was a good starting point to a show that allowed the writers to really kind of take off and explore with these characters, and they've done so well, and it was a great starting point. You can't start. It definitely wasn't a 0, but it wasn't a 10.
No, exactly, and you don't want. I mean, if you think about other
pilots. I mean, nobody knows what they're doing with the show. They have this basic idea, and they're going to run with it, and then
we'll make comparisons to other animated episodes all the time.
Sure,
but think about Simpsons episode, Simpsons roasting on an open fire.
Oh man, that I mean, it was a good episode, but it wasn't amazing.
Looking back on that episode,
the Family Guy episode was actually pretty good. The pilot for that
one was that was a very acceptable pilot.
That's pretty stand up.
South Park's was a little rough too, because that one was definitely.
I don't remember King of the Hills. I remember watching it, but I don't remember the premise for it at all. But I mean, they didn't really stray very far from their normal dynamic.
What's funny is a lot of the pilots that we're talking about, other than Family Guys, those other pilots, I think those were done earlier than the rest of the show. Like South Park's was definitely done.
Yeah, well, original was a VHS tape that they passed around from party to party, and then some executive got a hold of it.
Well, they did the Jesus versus Santa, which is the true pilot. That's
VHS
really
tape.
rough before that one. But like this one. Like with some pilot episodes, there's a difference between the first and the second episode because they changed their animation style, or it was drawn or done so far in advance that you get to it. That's not so common anymore. But I feel like this one,
it follows that a little bit, because even from when you watch the second episode from the first episode, there's a lot of differences. The voices are cleaner, the animation's cleaned up. So because they get the money to go ahead and run a 22 episode season, or whatever season 1 turned out to be. So it's really great that. From that standpoint, looking back to see how much was kept from the original pilot, and which was a lot of things, because a lot of things sometimes get changed from the pilot. Things don't work. They want to go a different direction with a different character. But for Bob's Burgers, everybody was kept pretty much 100%, ready to go. They give, it just takes a little while, obviously, when you only have 22 minutes to work with to grow and build on character background and character development.
Where do you rate this as far as pilots between Family Guy, Bob's Burgers, Simpsons, and South Park? We'll do the 4 that we know, and Futurama. So those 5, where do you rate this? Or what is your rating on those 5?
Put it in, I think it's better than The Simpsons. I think it's better than South Park.
Okay.
From a pilot standpoint.
So it's at least top 3.
I don't think it's better than Futurama. Okay. And I don't think it's better than Family Guy.
Okay, so right in the middle. Right smack down the middle. That's where I would put it also.
Woo.
I think that as far as episodes go, I think it's Futurama, Family Guy, Bob's Burgers, South Park, Simpsons.
Sure,
that's my 5.
I could, I'm probably there with you. I might swap, South Park and Simpsons, but I mean, really,
I mean, it's like
we
said,
these are the shows that we're comparing it to, because these are the shows that have lasted the longest out of any other animated shows, especially The Simpsons, and Futurama coming back 3 times from cancellation and just going crazy and having their movies.
Family Guy came out twice.
Family Guy came back twice from cancellation.
Came back once from cancellation.
Was it just once?
Just once.
Okay.
It was 2003 is when it got canceled.
Okay.
They were brought back in 2005.
Yeah.
But then there was also Futurama got canceled twice.
Right.
They got brought. Well, once was a true cancellation. The other was kind of a partial, moving from what was it?
Movies.
Moving from the movies to and then they stopped it, and then they did Comedy Central episodes.
Right.
So they had kind of had a 1.5. But then the other ones haven't been canceled yet. Simpsons.
No, not yet.
Simpsons on 30 seasons now.
No, shut up. It's not that much.
No, not 30. 20, 28? 29? 28 now? They're renewed through 30 seasons, I think.
They might be renewed.
South Park is doing their 20th this year.
Yep. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, 20 for South Park. The Simpsons.
Let's look that up quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna look that up.
While you look that up,
oh my God, you're right. 28 seasons.
Yeah.
No way. I remember just the other day. It felt like season 20.
Let's remember, 18 of those seasons are pretty shitty.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If you want a good, if you want some good nostalgia, which we could do a whole podcast on Simpsons, the first 10 seasons of Simpsons, but there's a dime a dozen of those. But that is a hallmark of animation. If you want to go watch anything that will stand the test of time, because there's nothing in that show that, I mean, it breathes. It's part of the zeitgeist of the 80s and the 90s, but it's so transformative. You could watch it now and still get the references, get the stuff. There's nothing that's rooted directly in that pop culture of that era.
The writing was so smart. It defined pop culture. It wasn't there for the pop culture like it is now, where they're just making jokes about what's popular, as opposed to them just, being satirical and,
they're
just writing their own jokes.
They're doing they're doing now what the Family Guys and the South Parks are doing.
Right.
They're trying to keep it topical, in the current. What's happening? South Park's great about doing that because they write an episode.
They've been doing it for years.
They've been doing it forever.
That's the thing. Like, that's the difference between South Park, Family Guy, Simpsons. Is South Park, like Ryan said, does it in 6 days, and they just riff and write as the news is kind of coming out. So that's how they're able to stay on top of things, but nobody else does that, and that's what makes them so unique in that regard.
Family Guy tries, but they're also behind because they write episodes in the future.
Right.
Their only thing to pop culture is their cutaway gags, which are so bad now.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's nice about Bob's Burgers, as you'll see as we get into the episodes, is they're so isolated from the real world.
Yeah.
There's really nothing that they talk about that's anything remotely close to what's happening.
And I think that's why it does so well, because it's not trying to copy anything else. Mm-hmm. It's trying to be its own thing. And with this pilot episode, they succeed.
They make parody references to things that may or may not have happened. Sure. Like later on they have the episode with the Jaws, with the automated shark.
Right.
That's kind of like a Jaws thing.
Sure. They're parody stuff.
But there's nothing, it's not like, I was in Jaws 4, and they're trying to make something in real life.
Right.
Where Family Guy's done that, where Simpsons is doing that now.
Right.
And South Park is the best at doing that.
Right.
Because it's a real city. South Park, Colorado. They've done it their whole series. They make references to things that are in Denver and things that are in South Park. Right. It's just great. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, this show is pretty, will be pretty good. Hopefully it gets better. We've watched one episode.
Yeah.
And going through this. I mean, we've watched all the episodes, but we've never done
a sit down to review and really critique. Yeah. So this is hopefully something that you've all enjoyed, and hopefully will join us for many more episodes to come.
Do you want to?
There's no sign of stopping for Bob's Burgers anytime soon.
Not. Should we go ahead and do the ratings then? Now?
Yeah, we can start. Yeah, we can rate it if you want.
All right. Let's pause for station ID or 2 seconds.
Sure.
And we'll come back with our rating.
So we have to sell some burgers. Every year this weekend makes or breaks us. Who's farting?
It's Gene's sound effects thing.
I thought that made you sound like a robot.
It does robot voice, laser sound, and fart noise.
All right, so we've calculated our ratings, our reviews. So how we're going to do this, since it is the first episode.
Right.
We're going to rate the show based on its meta jokes, which are the jokes at the beginning of the episode. Mm-hmm. So the
burger of the day, the pest control, and the building next door.
Yep. So those three. We're going to rate, so these are going to be weighted, and we're not going to tell you the weights because that's just going to get confusing. Meta jokes, we're going to talk about the story, how good we thought the story was. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about the humor of the episode, how funny we thought the overall episode was, and then we've got kind of a miscellaneous personal opinion. It can be music, it can be if there's any new original music, if there's any new character introductions that aren't aside from the story.
A celebrity that comes in, and voices a character,
or just something,
is always fun.
And it accounts for our bias. It's a lower weight, but it accounts for our bias. If I like something much better than Brian does, and it's not related to joke, story, or humor, we can kind of throw it into other.
Destroy the whole episode.
It really doesn't. So we'll start with meta jokes. If you don't remember, storefront was FETA, P-F-E-T-A, Meat is Murder. There was the pest control removal, which was Rats, All Folks, Exterminators. And then the two burgers of the day, which was New Baconings, and then the Child Molester, which comes with candy.
Yeah.
If it was just the burgers of the day, this would be much higher, because I think the Child Molester and the whole gag with the Child Molester ordering the burger probably sells that great.
Right.
But I gave it a 6. 6, it's above. Now we're going out of a 10 scale here.
Right.
No halves, no halvesies. So it's 6 out of 10, which means it's above average. It's decent. There's room for improvement, but I could have definitely thought of worse ones that they could have done. Mm-hmm. Anything I would have thought of would have been worse.
Right.
So
6
out of 10 for that.
I gave it 5 for it. I just thought, Rats All Folks was pretty simple to get to. The new baconings I really liked Louise's child molester burger. I just thought that was funny because it had nothing to do with anything, and it just comes with a piece of candy. So was what they came up with, which was really great. And then the feta or whatever
Pafita.
Mia's murder. That was okay. Didn't really win me over for that, so I gave it a 5.
Okay.
Story, I gave it a 6. I thought it was a strong pilot episode. Overall, I really enjoyed meeting the characters again for the first time, and really. I really enjoyed Louise in this episode. That's really what did it for me.
I gave it a 5. Average story. It is a pilot. We just talked about how it's third pilot for me out of 5. So for me, it's in the middle. It's not good. It's not bad. It doesn't do much to introduce anything else that's going to go on in the show. This would have turned me off if I had to just watch this first and nothing else. I probably would not have watched a lot right away because it is kind of just about a burger restaurant.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah. That doesn't grip me like some other shows have done.
Right, but I make it a note to never judge a show by its first episode. You always wait to 3 or 4 to make your decision if you want to continue.
And that's true,
with it
but that's
or not.
why the story's only a 5 for me, because
it
didn't grip me like some other pilots have done on shows that are no longer out. On the humor, so this is overall humor, jokes and stuff. This is a 6. This is separate from Child Molester, comes with candy, which probably would have pushed it up a little bit higher. That is a great joke. But the Gene with the megaphone making the noises,
and just the farting in the very inappropriate times was great.
The whole kind of the part of the exotic club that eats man meat, or that wants to try man meat. The thing with the body coming in when Hugo was there. The kissing thing was kind of weird, but the humor was there. It was 6. It was there's a couple chuckles in there. Nothing laugh out loud, extremely funny, but there were definitely laughs, and they were not just weighted in the front or the back. They were spread out throughout.
Right. So yeah, I gave it a 6 also, and then the other. The humor I gave a 6, and then the little other part that little bits and pieces that we really enjoyed of the show, I gave that a 6 as well. I liked the banter with the children. I liked Tina, being Tina, and just the kids picking on her. I thought was a really great part. I enjoyed the characters of Hugo and Ron were great because it sets the show up where you're gonna have this I guess enemy of Bob. That he's going to be there, anytime they need it. He's like the Mr. Burns. There we go. He's like the Mr. Burns.
Yeah, no, that's Mr. Fish Odor.
Damn it, you're right. Okay,
and that's a later episode.
All right, I'm going to come up with something for Hugo. Don't worry.
We'll think about it in a different episode.
Wow. Okay.
I gave it a 6 for others also.
Yeah.
Just character introductions were good.
Yeah.
We did get to meet some adversaries. I was a little worried when you're first watching the episode what's kind of going to happen. You don't know if Hugo and Ron are going to stick around, but if they're the health inspector, I'm sure they'll make an appearance later on, especially with the dynamic with Linda. And just like I said, it's a little bit of a personal bias, giving it a 6. Just watching it now after seeing all the other episodes, just it's kind of nice to kind of go back and see the humble beginnings of the show. Once we gave our reviews, we kind of tallied up scores in the background. Ended up being a 5.7, so it's above average. Barely, not barely, but it's above average. A 5.7. We're gonna go on a 10 scale. We're not doing the school scale. I hate that. I hate doing school scale.
What's school scale?
A, B, C, D, F. So everything below 60 is bad.
Yeah,
that's not. I don't do that on IMDb.
That's not how that works.
When you're rating things, 5 is always going to be average. It does not mean it's bad. It does not mean it's it doesn't mean it's bad or terrible or anything. It's not an F. It really, the C is 5. And I don't like doing a 5 scale. I don't like doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because there's not any real wiggle room to do halves. Because if you're doing a half, you might as well do the 10 scale.
Right. So
5.7 is average. It's above average. It's above average barely. But it is definitely worth watching.
Yeah. Especially to get into the show. It's great to learn what it is about. So that's our little introduction to our rating system. This has been our first podcast of Burgers and Fries, the Bob's Burgers.
Don't you tell me no lies.
Don't you tell me no lies. The Bob's Burgers podcast that we'll be doing, releasing episodes every week and releasing new episodes as the new show.
Every episode will
be
new.
Yeah.
But when once the new season starts, we'll take a hiatus. We're probably not going to get through too many of the first season before the new episodes start.
Right.
But what's always been weird about Bob's Burgers is they'll do 2 or 3 episodes and then take a month off.
Yeah.
And then they'll do like 4 episodes and take another month off.
Right.
So
football gets in the way.
We'll get there.
Baseball
it'll
playoffs get in the way.
We'll get through all of them, but it's kind of nice to start. We'll see the first couple episodes of season 1.
Sure.
And then we'll switch over to the newer stuff. And
sure.
You can see a big change in the show.
Yeah. So thanks everyone for listening. Again, we are Bryan and Ryan of the
Burgers and Fries
podcast.
The podcast formerly known as Sweet 12.
Yeah.